Morning and afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Farhad was born in Tehran, Iran, where he completed his high school. Beloved Baba pulled him to the U.S. in 1963, just in time so he would not miss the momentous events of his generation that began that year. Farhad's search for that vague something he was looking for took many, many shapes, including hitchhiking around the U.S., staying at a monastery in Georgia, staying at a Hopi reservation in Arizona, and a year-long hitchhiking in South America, during which he lived for about a month with native tribes in the Amazon forest. Bah, bah. You'd have to tell us about that experience. He learned about Beloved Baba in the US in 1970. Farhad was drawn to Baba's Sufism, but Murshida Dus did not accept him at that time. Instead, she advised him to complete his studies and return to Iran. So after completing his PhD in neurophysiology at Johns Hopkins, in 1974, Farhad returned to Iran. Shortly after his return to Iran, the Irani avatar turned the key and began a new chapter of work in Iran, of his work. To begin with, Beloved Baba touched the hearts of a group of young people and set them on fire. The sparks of the Beloved's love spread even to old-timers, and before long, there were 5 Baba meetings in a week. During this vibrant period, Beloved Baba inspired a number of thrilling projects and pulled Farhad into them very fully. These included the initial attempts at translating Baba's works into Farsi, notably God Speaks, the Discourses, and the Wayfarers, contacting old Baba lovers from the Prem Ashram, such as Chota Baba, who was Abdullah Pakravan, and chronicling their lives, translating Chota Baba's remarkable autobiography from Farsi to English, available in the book called Ramju's Diaries that many of you may be familiar with. Publishing a book in Farsi to introduce Meher Baba in Iran called Secrets of Divine Love. And finally, renovating Baidul's abandoned house near Yazd into a Baba retreat, which was following Baba's instructions and funded by Mehra's mother, Dolat Mai. Baidul had started a school in this house, which Baba visited, and much more to Beloved Farshid's history. Farhad, yes, I'm still half napping. Baba pulled Farhad out of Iran back to the US in January 1979, the day after the Shah fled, by making Farhad very ill. He required surgery, which could not be performed in Iran due to the onset of the Islamic Revolution. To make a long story short, Farhad settled in Walnut Creek. Murshida Dus accepted him as a student, and he began his rich and satisfying life in the loving embrace of Beloved Baba's Sufism. Were you the one to deliver a letter to, or was that to Farah Diba? Yeah, I would love to hear that. That'll come in Q&A from me. So please help me welcome Farhad Shafa.
Jai Baba, everybody. Yes, indeed, our beloved is very whimsical. Pulls us here and there and everywhere. Yesterday, we stopped at a very interesting spot. If I can bring my notes to the right page. So the video that we watched, or some of you watched, was made from Roger Robinson's beautiful song that he wrote, and Misha put it to a video form. Many of you may know Roger, or he lived here, yeah. So it was a wonderful way to remember him. What I was thinking was that, just to get us a little more in the mood, Let's watch another video. This one will be about Beloved Baba said he had come not to teach but to awaken. And so here is a Hafiz poem rendered by Dan Ladinsky into English and put into music, sung by Misha. I think that the whole thing about Baba is the awakening. So let's begin with that video.
Wait a while, away. It does not have to be forever, right now. Away, a while, away. One step upon the sky's soft skirt would be enough. Awake a while, Hafiz, awake a while. Just one true moment of this love will last for days. Just one true moment of this love will last for days. This love will last. This love will last. Awake, my dear, awake. Be kind to your sleeping heart. Take it out into the vast, radiant fields of light, and let it breathe a while. Be kind, oh, let it breathe. Awake a while, awake. Say, love, give me back my wings. Love, give me back my wings. Lift me nearer. Say, love, give me back my wings. Love, give me back my wings. Lift me nearer, nearer. Say to the sun and the moon and to our dear friend. Say to the sun and the moon and to our dear friend. Say to our dear friend, I will take you up now, beloved, on that wonderful dance you promised. I will take you up now, beloved, on that wonderful dance you promised. I will take you up now, beloved, on that wonderful dance you promised. I will take you up now, beloved, on that wonderful, wonderful dance you promised. That wonderful promise.
The dance you promised. We will talk about that soon. But before that, today we are going to talk about what beloved Baba kept talking about, especially towards the end of his life, saying something is going to happen that has never happened before. And he kept repeating that in many, many different ways. And then we will talk about Baba's new life, the Mananash, and the totally remarkable design that he has for what that new thing is that he's bringing about. It is so new that the only way he could reference it was something. It's not anything that we could imagine. So, but yesterday we talked about how Baba said, I'm going to explain something that cannot be explained, and I want you to understand that which cannot be explained. So we're going to do our best. We also yesterday talked about the two of Baba's kind of avataric roles. One was the seventh avatar, and the other one was the Kalki avatar. And today we are going to talk about him as the Ancient One, as the Lord of the universe. It is, I think, has never happened before when an avatar has had these three roles. So, the Ancient One is the one without a second who existed before there was a beginning. In this role, he releases the primordial energy of silence into creation, and he is one who traverses the spiritual path for the first time. And that is what the new life was all about. And now the avatar has come once again amongst us as the Ancient One to do what he does best, to bring forth a new world with a new humanity. We now sit at the threshold of a monumental transformation, likes of which has never happened before. The enormity of it is such that beloved Baba called it a miracle. A divine event as immense and as colossal as the act of creation itself. He said, my first great miracle was this whole creation. And the second will be when I break my silence. So it's as big as bringing a new creation in. So let's call it what it is. Again, he says, ages and ages back, one great miracle I performed, and that is this miracle of the whole creation that has come out of me. I will perform one more miracle when I speak. And sometimes he used the metaphor of a song to refer to the breaking of his silence. He said, the first song of the infinite is the beginning of creation. It brings about the apparent descent of the infinite into the domain of the multiple duality. God will make me soon break my silence, and that first original song will be sung again. Then the world will realize that God alone is real, and every one of us is eternally one with God. It is surprising how many times and in how many ways beloved Baba repeated this theme about the miracle. Here are some examples. Mine will be the miracle of all miracles. It will be when I break my silence. It will be the first and last miracle of its kind since creation. When I break my silence, the first and last of the greatest of all miracles will be performed. When I break my silence, I will perform the greatest miracle. When I break my silence, the greatest miracle of all times will happen. Be worthy to receive the divine grace at that moment. The first promise I gave God, I kept, and this whole creation is around my neck. The last promise, when I speak, I will fulfill. So how many times does he have to say this before we believe it? Anyhow, in Hindu tradition, the aspect of divinity responsible for creation is known as Shiva Nataraj. Many of you have seen those statues of the dancing Shiva. That's the Lord of the dance, Shiva Nataraj. The Lord of the universe, who through his cosmic dance destroys, then creates universes. He brings about the end and the beginning of two vast cycles of cycles. And I think we talked about yesterday that he is not ending just a cycle of 7 avatars. He said he's ending a cycle that includes millions and billions of avataric cycles, spanning millions, even billions of avataric cycles, as Baba estimated in his final declaration. Those are his words. It is this role that has been assumed only once before, when he brought about the creation that is now being superseded in this system of life. We of course know that there have been many, many systems of life. So we will again see a Misha video that focuses on the avatar's role as the Lord of the dance, as Nataraj, who through his cosmic dance creates universes. This would be number 10, called Nataraj.
Time infinite ocean. Out of the realm of silence comes a rainbow melody. His golden body swaying, moving silently down the drive, down the drive, down the drive, down the drive. Hey, hey, ba-ba-ba. Hey, hey, ba-ba-ba. All creation's whirling around his brilliant sun. Every life is spinning, dancing with the one. The Lord of love is making us into his world, transforming dance. Oh, not rise, awaken us. Be there above, awaken us with your diamond glance. Your glance, your glance.
As early as in 1927, Baba alluded to this work. He said, I have a law of my... So let me say what I mean by his work, his miracle. I have a law of my own for managing the affairs of the universe. But when I speak, that law will be kept aside, because the spiritual push will be universal, so that the law which I have created for the universe will be set aside. So that is the definition of a miracle. Baba didn't accept anything else as a miracle, but this one he considered his miracle. He was going to put all the laws away, create new ones. Baba used the word universal and said the spiritual push will be universal, not for just a few, but universal. I think that is a big difference in his new creation versus his old one, in which only a few strived very hard to get up there. But now Baba is releasing the silence, so it is for everyone. And we will talk about all his statements about this a little more. Baba referred to what was going to happen when he broke his silence as something. It was not like anything else that was known. So he referred to it as something. He said, what is going to happen, you have no idea. Something that has never happened before. And that which is to happen after 21st of May 1968 will be something great, something that has never happened before, something that will not happen again for billions and billions of years. He later changed the date to the end of July of 1968, and on July 30th he stated unequivocally, my work is done. It is completed 100% to my satisfaction. The result of this work will also be 100% and will manifest from the end of September. Baba was very clear that he was not just ending a cycle of 7 avatars, but a cycle of cycles. He said, all cycles of time in illusion end and begin after 700 to 1400 years. There have been and will be millions and billions of such cycles in a cycle of cycles. It says millions and billions, meaning a whole lot, a bazillion. And that this is the last cycle of cycles. So it's so bewildering to be living at this time, and then it's just to luck out. So all indications are that we are literally at the cusp of a new world, that something new is coming into existence. Yesterday we talked about a cusp. For those of you who weren't here, we said a cusp is Upasi Maharaj had a way of describing it. He said, think of 7 concentric temples that are whirling within each other. Each has a door. And it is very rare that all these doors align. But when they do align, then you have direct sight of the sanctum sanctorum, and you can go in there. And it is at a cusp that kind of the new is just beginning, the old is just ending. It's that gap. And so God can sneak in that gap. And how are new things born? Well, creation is struck such that the female energy is responsible for giving birth. And that is to anything. That is just the way the universe is. The female energy and form is responsible for giving birth. This is true at every level, beginning with creation itself. The personification of that female energy is often referred to as the Divine Mother. And in this Advent, our dearest Mehera personified that role. And the role of the female is so important that in all traditions it comes first. It's Sitaram, Radha Krishna, Mehera Meher. And so Baba's silence breaking, the new world of unity he came to usher in, and the release of love in measureless abundance that he talked about, are all part of a single divine impulse. It is like one of these airplanes that goes to kind of dump water to put out a fire. It goes over this kind of mountain where there's a fire, and suddenly dumps the water. It all comes at once. But then the way it finds its way down the mountain and percolates down, that takes time, and it's kind of based on the laws of creation and all of that. But this whole thing, in other words, Baba's breaking of the silence and his keeping it is part of a single event that is already done. And now it is happening, in time or in sequence, the way we see it in our world. So, it was a single divine impulse. Birth of that impulse into manifestation requires the female qualities of the Divine Mother, which was represented by dearest Mehera. And Baba talked about, the reason I'm saying this, because this morning at Aarti, we heard this lovely song by Bob Brown that Ramakrishna wrote for Mother Kali. And yesterday we actually had a beautiful video of it that Misha had put together from Bob Brown's, that he sang. But today he said that, and I was thinking that maybe I should mention about it, because first of all, the Kali that Ramakrishna worshipped was black, was in a black stone. And black is their color of silence. There is no, it's unity in silence. There is no form, it's just black. And Baba talked about how Ramakrishna was among the people who prepared the groundwork for his work. And so Kali, he worshipped Kali, and he said, now the gates of paradise are open wide. And that's what we heard in the song, because they are. He heralded. It is, in Islam we have someone who heralds, and then in Christianity I think it's John the Baptist, or that heralds the coming of the new age, of the new avatar. And so he was heralding the breaking of the silence. Okay, so we're talking about our beloved Mehera. We always saw her as this most remarkable divine figure that we loved and, chatted with just casually and this and that and the other thing. But her role is something else. We took it for granted, but that is why I guess Baba took such care for her to not be polluted by energies of different kind. It had nothing to do with, men not looking at her. It had to do with the energy at the feet of the masculine energy polluting a female energy that Baba needed for his work of giving birth to a new creation. We always kind of translate it into our sexual, limited ways of looking at things. So let us offer our most heartfelt gratitude to dearest Mehera. Through her help, deep love, she helped Baba. So this is number 11. So, we can now go to our dear Mani, who used to write those family letters. The following account in the family letters related by dear Mani in 1967 underlines the monumental change that Baba was tasked to usher in. And this is what Mani writes. Recently, the beloved has been telling us not much of the close at hand breaking of his silence, but of the monumental changes that will come about on earth when he does so. One morning, while we were sitting at breakfast with Baba and a hummingbird was hovering before a window pane in ecstasy of its own reflection, we got to talking of his silence, illustrating for us the completeness of the transformation that will take place in the world after he breaks his silence. Baba cupped his hand, left hand loosely over his right, as though he were holding a big ball, and then, with a deft movement, brought his right hand over his left in an absolute turnover of the imaginary ball's position. Upside down, one of us interpreted. With a half smile, Baba gestured, right side up. So, see, he had his hand like this, and then he went like this. So the right hand is up. Topsy-turvy. There is no ambiguity in these statements. Baba is initiating a new cycle of cycles which will bring about a colossal change, the likes of which has never happened before. Since creation, as we know it. Let me read that again. There is no ambiguity in these statements. Baba is initiating a new cycle of cycles which will bring about a colossal change, the likes of which has never happened before since creation as we know it, and it was first struck. This brings to mind Hazrat Babajan's words, "My son will shake the world to its foundations." The breaking of silence dissolves the old to make room for the new. And Baba was clear that this work was 100% completed to his satisfaction. Not 99%, but 100%. So it's a done deal. In summary, the first creation ushered in by Baba's first miracle is now ending, and the second creation marshaled by his second miracle has just begun. The first creation was primarily focused on evolution and reincarnation, a journey from the core of life to its periphery, aimed at maturing structures of consciousness through innumerable experiences. And Baba talked about that at length in his discourses and God Speaks, and how during evolution and reincarnation, consciousness gets completed, and then during reincarnation, all the different experiences of opposites are done, and that is, he also called that the winding phase. And if we look in the charts of God Speaks, we see that it's a clockwise spiral that he uses to show the winding. And then when it wants to show the unwinding, which is the involution, he has the spirals going counterclockwise. And that is because, I guess, the energies flow that way, divine energies. During the first creation, involution was the exception to the norm, and individuals ascended the spiritual path one at a time with great difficulty. The second creation, just beginning, is primarily focused on involution and the journey back to the source, which will no longer be the exception, but will become the norm. In other words, things will be turned around and made right side up. So we are entering a world where gradually, in Baba's time it's already happened. In our time it's going to take a while. It's going to be for everyone. And it is the silence descending and divinizing creation rather than individuals kind of one at a time going up. To accomplish this, Baba had to reach into the nether depths of divinity and release the infinite force of silence, just as he did as the Ancient One at the beginning of the world that is now being supplanted. In describing his work and what he had done to bring the silence down in a descending downpour, he gave several points to Bao Kachuri. Some of you may be familiar with these. He said, I'm going to give you a few important points about my manifestation. Write each point down. What Baba said included the following points. He said, there are 7 doors in my abode. Each door remains closed to all those bound in illusion. The aim of involution is to open these 7 doors to experience my infinity. The first door is extremely difficult to open. I come to open these 7 doors. I work to cut a hole in the first door. That door leads to the first plane. This cutting is my work during my lifetime. So he has opened all the doors so his silence can come down. And the bottom door, which is so hard and dense and difficult, he actually cut a permanent hole in it. So, and of course, that is where evolution begins. He uses language in a most his use of language is most interesting. He opened the doors, but he actually cut a permanent hole in the first one. Well, the first door opens to the first plane, where involution begins. And now a permanent hole is cut that allows involution to proceed unhindered. By cutting this hole, Baba flooded creation with divine energies that allow involution to become the primary mode of life, the norm. And in the discourse titled Avatar, Baba made a most remarkable statement. He said, qualities of energy and awareness which had been used and enjoyed by only a few advanced souls are made available for all humanity. For all humanity. After all, Baba did say that the spiritual push will be universal. This will be so because divinity itself has broken out of its silence and has washed over creation in descending deluge of grace. The initial divine wave that issued forth from the ocean of silence has now crested and is beginning to fall back into the ocean. The wave had gone out of the ocean as far as it could. And in the process, it had completed the structures of consciousness and had refined all experience. And this was done through the long processes of evolution and reincarnation. And that was the goal of the first miracle. And now it is the ocean that reaches out to the waves and embraces them. The ocean is going to the rivers. Could this mean that instead of having to ascend to reach the realm of silence, now divinity washes over creation in downpouring cascades of silence? Could it mean that when silence breaks out of its infinitude to shower creation, divinity can best be sought and found in creation and not and in the midst of life, rather than somewhere removed? Is that one of the reasons that Baba's first wish, among the 5 wishes that Baba says, this is my wish. The first one is that Baba is that do not shirk your worldly responsibilities. Stay in creation, in the world down here. This is where divinity is coming to meet you. So don't flee. When silence breaks and descends, torrents of divinity wash over creation in downpours of love. It is a downpour of love because silence and love share the quality of unity. In silence, there is no duality. And love, it unifies dualities. It manifests silence and becomes the expression of silence in the world of form. Well, this is the predicament we find ourselves in. So now, love is all that matters now. Number 12, please.
Another world is pushing through, being born in dawn's new light, taking form in me and you, as he dances into sight. The past dissolves upon a breath and crumbles like a broken bough. As this stream of life and death opens wider to allow love. Love is all that matters now. Love is all that matters now. Love is all that matters now. Hold on tight, never let go, never, never let go, never, never let go of his love. Oh, baby, your love is all there is, your love is all there is, your love is all there is. Come lovers sing, call his name, sing it through this jeweled night. Darkness passes and love remains, summoning the morning light. Knocking down his grace is here, in, around, and everywhere. is all there is. Your love is all there is. Your love is all there is. Another world is pushing through, being born in dawn's new light, taking form in me and you, as he dances into sight. Love him now, his grace is here, in, around, and everywhere. Oh, may care when you appear, with every heartbeat we declare love. Love is all that matters now. Love. Love is all that matters now. Love is all that matters now.
So that's that.
So now we're going to talk about the new life. The new life has been perhaps the most enigmatic period of Baba's life. Here's one way of looking at it. Given Baba's statements about how radically different the new creation is, it would not be surprising if processes of spiritual unfoldment would also be different. Because now the process is reversed. Now the ocean of silence floods the rivers rather than rivers striving to reach the ocean. Clearly, no one had traversed the spiritual path in the new creation. So, just as the mischievous chicken, the avatar, charted the path to divinity in the old creation, could it be that he now had to build a new highway to divinity in the new creation for others to follow? So, we have a new creation, we need a new highway, a spiritual highway. It appears that Baba, as the author of the new creation, undertook this colossal work himself during the phase of his life he called the new life. Could it be that in this phase he built the spiritual path by which consciousness can achieve its goal of realization? If consciousness is to be able to withstand the torrents of divinity swelling from the infinite ocean of silence and absorb that deluge safely, new spiritual channels, patterns, and processes had to be created in consciousness. Beloved Baba offered up his own physical and spiritual bodies to this process, so this new pattern of divine unfoldment could be worked out and a new highway to divinity could be paved. You know, when we talk about a highway, we think it's some sort of a road or a set of exercises. It is an internal thing. It is internal structures of consciousness have to change, and they have to now be aligned with the new creation and the direction of energy that is reversed. And nobody in creation had that had not been done. So a pattern had to be created. And because Baba's consciousness is universal, when he does it, it impacts the whole of creation. It creates a pattern for the entire creation. So he had to do it himself. And he had to lend his own body, and by body, all of his bodies, physical, subtle, mental, all of the structures of his consciousness to this process so that this new highway could be built. And you know, one way that I think of Baba is that there's this infinite ocean of divine force. For it to come down, you need to have an opening. But if that flow is not regulated, it can flood and destroy everything. So Baba was the gauge, was the kind of gate that modulated the flow of divinity, of silence, into creation in ways that would not destroy it. And that is why he continuously talked about how difficult it was, his work, his universal work, as he called it, and that he was constantly being crucified. Of course, an angle of it has to do with how that energy is melded in the ignorance of creation. Anyhow, it's mind-boggling. Baba gave up his old life in the fullest possible way so he could assume the role of a seeker and thus forge a brand new highway to the goal by walking it himself for the first time. He took every care so the new could emerge without the slightest tinge of the old. He had to undertake this divine journey as an ordinary spiritual wayfarer with no shortcuts or dependence on spiritual divine powers. So it would be authentic and applicable to ordinary wayfarers. Once done, it would be there for others to follow, or as he said, it would be there even if nobody went on it. It was created. Meher Baba severed his connections with all that belonged to his old life and left behind all its trappings. He set aside not only his ashrams, buildings, disciples, relationships, and old habits, but he made the ultimate sacrifice by setting aside his state of divinity, which was aligned with the old creation. This could not be just a pretense. It had to be real. It had to be experienced as a real experience. And Baba felt it so keenly that he characterized it as a personal calamity. What a sacrifice. What a love. Meher Baba summed up the conditions of the new life by inventing a new word, Satyanashi. This word is made up of Satya, meaning utter, complete, veritable, and Nashi, the same as Manonash, means destruction. So meaning ruination, annihilation. So Satyanashi means ruination of everything. And Baba said, this life of ours has nothing to do with spirituality. Nothing to do with spirituality, because our understanding of spirituality is based in the old creation. There is a world of difference between renunciation, which is what people did in the old creation, and Satyanashi. Satyanashi cannot be practiced. It is not of anybody's seeking. It comes and cannot be resisted. It is not that you sit there and you meditate or you do this and that and you get there. It is now coming down. It is a divine will. It is divine grace that comes down. Baba is saying it is not something one wills using old patterns of renunciation, but something that emerges from the divine will and is different from the old patterns of spirituality. Ghani's New Life poem clearly underlines this principle in the following lines. And this is from Ghani's poem. The question of disciple, master, or godhood no longer arise. Brotherliness or fellow feeling is the link that exists. So master-disciple relationships, they're not what they used to be anymore. Meaning a sense of equality, intimacy, and oneness. In other words, Baba did away with all existing notions of master-disciple relationships and spirituality simply because they were based on the old and did not align with the new level of oneness and equality of the new world. What was to emerge in the new world could not be anticipated or conditioned by what was understood as spiritual gain in the old creation. Something totally new, something that had never happened before. No dependence on the old. Here is a lovely, so now we have a lovely video taped in 2012 in India from a live performance from the anniversary of the East-West gathering that our group performed in India. It is basically the words of Baba's, the conditions that Baba gave. You know, Baba started a new life twice. Once in 1949. After a year, he said, we flunked. It didn't work because I gave in to your wants. I didn't stick to what I had asked for. Now I'm going to do it for Ernest. And he was very ill, and he held this very important meeting, and he gave these conditions, which you're all familiar with as you will hear the words of this video. And this is number 14. When faced with a new challenge, the natural tendency is to rely on past experience for figuring out things. But such an approach would make the new an extension of the old. It would impose limitations of the past, thus restricting fresh and new possibilities from emerging. To bring something as new as what Baba had in mind, not the tiniest element of the old could be present, and divine force had to be allowed to flow freely without being bounded or shaped by any lingering constraint from the past. The only way the past can be completely and utterly set aside is if one is dead. And that was what Baba asked of his New Life companions. Baba said, "Those who want to come with me should consider themselves as already dead. Just as a corpse has no connection or concern with anything material, does not ask questions, and does not want anything, in the like manner, those accompanying me will have to be with me as corpses." I mean, when you think of it, that's the only way that you can leave the old behind, if you're dead. As a new experiment, he did not know if he would succeed or not, how long it would take, or if he and others would survive or not. It would be up to the divine will. For the new life to work, Baba had to align himself completely and utterly with beloved God's will. That is to say, with the entirety of all the laws, energies, and flows of divinity and their interplays, without the slightest attempt to interfere with or try to shape or influence them. Its emergence required total and absolute surrender to God's will. It had to come from divinity. It could not be shaped or forced in any way, because it would be based on what was the old. So it had to come from God. So when on August 28, 1948, Baba asked for help from God, according to Lord Meher, this was the first prayer for help offered to God by Meher Baba during the past 28 years. The Mandali were stunned. No one even uttered Amen. During the new life, Baba had to somehow bring an end to the reign of multiple separateness that characterized the old world. Therefore, the most significant outcome of the new life was the emergence of a sense of oneness and unity that was experienced in a totally new way. This was done by merging the opposing poles of duality. To do this, Baba had to reach out to the extreme ends of the opposites, bend them into each other, and merge them together into a unity, where the highest is the lowest and the lowest is the highest, where opposites coexist, where we have yes and no at the same time, an impossibility in the old creation, but an unquestionable necessity in the new creation. It's like the old Sufi saying that you have to stay dry while you're bound and thrown into a river. But now stay dry. So the level of unity, as we will read some more, and you'll see that Baba was bringing about in this new creation is different than what we think unity is just unity. But the way it's experienced in creation is different. And so Baba is adding a new dimension to this unity that was only achieved by divorcing yourself from illusion. That is how it was. So one of the ways that Baba accomplished this was by assuming the role of the lowest of the low. While being the highest of the high, Baba simultaneously became the lowest of the low as he was stripped of everything, belongings, shelter, hope, even his divinity, and by blending divine freedom with its opposite, abject bindings and blind ignorance. Baba finally succeeded in achieving this seemingly impossible task, and at the end of the new life, he proclaimed this achievement through a set of astonishing statements, including the following. The consuming of freedom and bindings, which is characteristic of the fiery free life, the opposites of freedom and binding, means that there is a complete blending of the God state and the man state, so that the one does not live through opposition to the other. And there can be no question of the one encroaching upon the province of the other. In other words, you have these dualities, and yet you have unity. Unity in the midst of diversity. That is how Baba somewhere else described it. And Baba said, life for me now means a feeling of absolute conviction that we are all eternally one, indivisible and infinite in essence, and with it a feeling of separateness from the real, omnipresent self through ignorance. In other words, he's feeling both. Life of strength born of inherent knowledge of oneness, and of weakness born of blinding desires, binding desires. He continues, I have regained the knowledge, strength, and greatness that I had in the old life, and retained the ignorance, weakness, and humility of the new life. This union of the old and the new life states has given birth to life. Life that is eternally old and new. In other words, even the duality of the old life and the new life no longer exist. It is just life. Everything is united into a single unitary whole. These bewildering statements point to the emergence of something totally new, something in addition to Baba's old state of divinity, a blending of truth with illusion in a way that was not experienced before. In these statements, Baba describes an experience of unity, a bending of God into man that makes divinity ever more accessible within the limitations and bindings of the mundane world, and can be lived in the midst of weaknesses and binding desires. Through the new life phase, Baba established a pathway for this new experience of unity and crafted a template through which everyone could feel and know more easily what he wrote on the very first page of God Speaks. All souls are one. Let's play number 15.
Excuse me,
Yes.
could you repeat those last words that you just spoke?
All souls are one. Yeah, it's from the very first page of God Speaks, sure.
All the gases of the universe striving weapon, every tool, metal in the mold. Geometric patterns manifesting house plans. Through the flower deep and we continue in the dance. Turn again, explore every insect, every worm. Crawling here and there with a buggy thing to learn. Dive into the water, swimming freely through the seas. Then rise up in the skies and fly upon the breeze. Back upon the ground with a new world to explore. Listen as the creatures all make a mighty roar. Then another turn that combines all into one. The sum of all you've ever been, the human has begun. The sum of all you've ever been, the human has begun. All the soldiers, all the mothers and their sons. All the lovers and the wars they've lost and won. All the servants, all the rulers, all the slaves. All the artists, all creations that they gave. All are one. The humorist, the terrorist, the fatalist, the optimist. All are one. The anarchist, the pugilist, the sensualist who must be kissed. All are one. Biologist, the narcissist, even the vocalist. All are one. All the shamans, rabbis, clerics, all the priests. All the silent, humbly down upon their knees. All the rebels, nonconformists, and their creeds. All in prison and all those who've been released. All are one. All the cunning and the stunning and the ones who must be running. All the hookers and their chons, all the nurses, all the nuns, all the florists and the farmers, all the brutes, all the charmers, all the first, all the worst, the prepared and unrehearsed, all the best, all the cursed, who can never quench their thirst. One. All are one. All the loving, all the golden, all the pure. All the anguished, all the ailing, all the cured. All the jesters, all the clowns, the acrobats. All the judges, politicians, diplomats. All are one. The nudist, the journalist, the TV idol finalist. All are one. The dentist, the typist, the larcenist who can't resist. All are one. The baker, the tailor, the chauffeur, the sailor, the gorgeous, the plain, the crazy and the sane. Everything and everyone are destined to attain. One. All one. All one. All the cowards, all the villains, all the knaves. All the righteous, all the heroes, all the brave. All adventurers who live without restraints. All the healers, all the holy saints. All are one. Ibn Arabi and Ali, Francis of Assisi, Milarepa, Naropa, Marfa, Tilopa, Rumi Hafiz, and Shams of Tabriz, Omar Khayyam, Tagore, Tukaram, Ramana Maharshi, Moses and Chispi, Junaid and Attar, Teresa of Avila, Solomon and Rabia, and Ramakrishna, Mirabai and Tansen, Vivekananda, Paul Shem Tov, Kabir Chaitanya, Aurobindo, Lao Tzu, Sadi and Elijah, John of the Cross and Bodhidharma. All one, crushed like grapes by the weight of history. Bursting bubbles in this endless living sea.
Okay, we're getting to the end. Manonash. So, what was all that about? During Manonash, first of all, it means annihilation of the mind. But what does it mean? It means, well, during Manonash, Baba destroyed the infrastructure of the mind by destroying it in himself. Since his consciousness is universal, what happens to him has a universal impact. So, whether we know it or not, the infrastructure of our lower mind, even our higher mind, has been destroyed. It's just a facade that kind of, it's like a train going and then the engine stops, but it still keeps going. So we are in that phase. But let me read on. The penultimate achievements of the old creation were intellect and reason. These marvelous faculties are mediated by the lower mind, which must now make way for what is to come. Intellect, like all other less refined forms of knowing, such as reflexes and instincts, will remain to fulfill its useful purposes. But it will surrender its supremacy to higher way of knowing, just as instincts gave way to reason and logic, but they still remain. How, I don't know, chemical bonds are still there, how oxygen's still there. That, the lower mind will stay there and will do what it's supposed to do, but it won't run us anymore. The mind, however, has such a tight grip that unless it is dismantled and its hold is severed, the faculties of the new world that rely on the heart cannot emerge. Without Baba's work to dissolve the structure of the mind, the new world could not emerge. So, in the last phase of the new life, during Manonash, Baba destroyed the infrastructure of the mind. This made it possible for the new creation to begin the transition from the mind to the heart. We have journeyed far, lifetimes sailing the surface of open seas, using our intellect and mind to wade in the shallows. But the time has now come to journey from the mind to the heart. It is time to hazard the journey from the shallows into the depths of the ocean, from the mind to the heart. And so this is our final video. It is number, I think, 16.
Tell me how far we've come. We passed all borders, went far beyond. We spent lifetimes on the open sea and sailed the oceans endlessly. We climbed the highest mountain top. We went so far, or so we thought, into the sky towards distant stars. None of these journeys are as far. to prepare, now we're here at last. Now a journey much greater still, within the heart will be fulfilled. The time has come that was long foretold. We are the ones who will now behold this age turning from the mind to the heart, from the mind to the heart, from the mind to the heart. From ancient times and distant stars, none of these journeys were as far as the one we now begin, the journey that will take within on the pathway of love. The time has come that was long foretold. We are the ones who will now behold this age turning from the mind to the heart, from the mind to the heart, from the mind to the heart.
Well, thank you all for putting up with me.
Is there time for questions? Lovely conversations over dinner at in India. You mentioned two topics which were of keen interest to me. One had to do with Baba's intention on writing the theme of creation in Creation and Its Causes to the Pramashram boys. And in that very act, he was actually creating the new creation. I'd like you to comment on that. And the second part had to do with the winders and unwinders and how they meet each other.
Yeah. So the first question had to do with creation and its causes, which Baba gave as discourses to the Pramashram boys. These are very complex descriptions of how creation is built. And interestingly enough, just about the same time that the book was published, the most successful scientific theory that came out in describing the universe, that all the math works out and it's kind of the string theory, consistent and all of that, is almost identical to the diagrams that Baba drew in that book 100 years before. We won't go into that, but it has to do with how a hologram is made, and the holographic universe is the latest, most successful pattern or model of the universe. But as Baba was giving these very complex discourses to the boys, something very special was happening. And that was a divine force was coming over, that if you read the literature, spiritual literature, you don't find anything like it. It was a totally new event happening where all the boys are suddenly crying for God, bursting into these spontaneous, fervent, divine states. It's not normal. And so, could it be that Baba was experimenting with bringing down the silence as a first experiment with the Premashram boys? And because he would tell them, forget about what I'm telling, not forget, but explaining these details, but saying, love God, think about me, love, 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 that's all, that's important. And yet at the same time, he was bringing down this blueprint of a creation. So isn't it interesting to think that he was bringing down the divine force of silence through these boys, the boys serving as a sink, because you always have to have a source and a sink for anything to flow. So they were the sink, and silence was the source. He was bringing it down so that the new creation could be structured. And the structure he gave in these discourses, that how this energy was to be built, was to be used. Anyhow, that is one way to look at it. And the other question was the winding and unwinding. I think you should watch my videos because, it's a very complex topic, but Baba is now bringing in the new, where more and more people are beginning to unwind sanskaras. During the winding phase, what we do is that we collect all the opposite of experiences. And then we get to a point where we are full to the brim. The only thing we don't know is that particular life that we come to as a baby. So the first phase of that life is spent in learning what that life is about. But then those are destined for unwinding begin to shed that ego, that personality. They die before they die. During the winding phase, you die and then you review all of those experiences that you had, you learn from it, you consolidate them and all of that. But during unwinding, you die, or your ego dies, before your body dies. So it's very anguishing, it's very difficult. And then if you're lucky, you stabilize and you have a totally fresh and lofty understanding of divinity and divine presence. Then if you're lucky, then another layer from the past comes to the surface. And when they come, these old sanskaras from the past, there is no control over them. You experience them, and sometimes you have to act them. But you act them with the knowledge of all of those accumulated experiences of past lives. So they are kind of milder, and then you gradually dissolve those as well. And as all of these experiences are sanskaras on these fibers that are called sanskaric fibers. And as they are cleansed and purified, these fibers are released. And when they are released, they connect to the level of divinity that you have so far been able to connect to. And they join all the fibers from your previous lives that you have unwound, and they connect you to a level of divinity that then you can. And many people think that they have reached the goal because the experience is so profound and different and overwhelming and lofty. But then, if you study the life of saints and perfect masters, you see that they go through periods in their first part of it that are very, very difficult lives. Intense lust, intense this. Like if you read St. Augustine, for example, the Confessions of St. Augustine, who Baba said was a perfect master. Was a true saint, sorry. He didn't say he was a perfect master, he said he was a true saint. You see what a difficult life, or St. Teresa, that all of the muck from other lives has to come before, it's all purified. And then if a soul, an advanced soul, is to perform certain functions, has a divine charge to do something, they get stabilized. They no longer process any more muck. And they function from that level of divinity where they've stabilized until next lifetime. At least that's my understanding. Yeah.
That can sort of be like a microcosm. Is it possible that a macrocosm could be what we're experiencing now? With a lot of what we perceive as negativity, many different things rising to be cleansed. What it looks like is kind of messy, but eventually it's meant to rise, to be maybe so that we can see it more clearly, and then hopefully do something to eradicate it. You hope that that's the goal.
Yes,
Possible?
absolutely. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me that we're, because, nations and anything, any structure in the universe has an ego, has karma, has sanskaras, and what contributes to that structure is the elements of that structure. So what you're saying is basically that when they all pool together, and that's why, we're admonished not to focus on the negative, because that only adds energy to that pool of energy. And so we focus on the positive and to do our best in our limited way. Yeah.
Thank you, Farhad.
Sure.
Could you tell people who might be interested in finding your videos where they can find
Oh,
those?
yes, that would be good to know.
Well, since the pandemic started, Mayor Naz started a Zoom group called Mayor Sepas, and I was asked to do a little section on each week, which I do. And then she decided to put these videos on YouTube, and it was a total surprise to me that anybody watches them. I thought it was just for the group itself, but when I was in India near the tomb this November, this older lady from India comes and embraces me, Jai Baba. I thought that I had forgotten who she was. I didn't remember her name, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't remember your names. Oh, no, you won't remember. You don't know me. I know your videos. And I'm thinking, what videos? I said, no, you're mistaken. I don't have any videos. And then I remembered that Mirnaz had said, and somebody in India watches them and kind of finds them interesting. So I came back and told Mirnaz, she said, oh yeah, there are 1,200 hits on it, and now it's 1,800. So,
Farhad, do they have a particular name, or do we reference your name particularly?
I don't know how you look at it. Mayor Sepas. Yeah, Mayor Sepas.
You have to go to YouTube and type Meher Sepas.
What is it?
S-E-P-A-S.
Mayor Sepas.
Meher.
It's one word, and it has a channel. So if you go to that channel, you will find a number of different videos. Some of them are Farshid, translating the creation and its causes. And
There's a wonderful video. I mean, I heard the audio. I think there's also a video now of Murshid Makai talking about winding and unwinding. And giving
yes.
the details of that, and it is fascinating.
It is. I think everything that I say is based on what I know nothing. I've only
Hello
picked
there,
up.
YouTubers.
Sorry.
Who's that?
I was just trying to find the channel there.
Oh. Anyhow, so everything is available on the internet. The Sufism Reoriented channel has remarkable videos of Murshid Jim and of Murshida Carol. But there's been a reluctance I mean, they have less hits than my little videos have, and they're the original material.
Here we
But-
are. That's the one.
That's Mirza Pass, yeah, and then there's the Sufism Reoriented channel on YouTube that has, and then of course the Sufism Reoriented website has these remarkable videos and lessons that Murshida Carol gave to us about. And all of what I've talked about is kind of a summary of what my understanding is of what they have said. But thank you for bringing that to attention. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Well,
Ahora estamos